Oh wow, it's recording already. I just want to talk about the defamation and all the stuff, all the legal stuff that went on with the recent fruitarian and bikini diet, bikini body lawsuit. So one of the things I found funny was some Americans, American friends and American people, and they seem to think that this would never happen in America, you know. As if America's like this land that no one ever sues anyone. You know, famous for its lack of litigious nature. This court case, this thing could have happened anywhere. It's just very simple case of defamation. If you go into business, the law protects you from being lied about by your competitors in order to maintain some level of fair competition within the marketplace, and in order to protect the consumer and allow the consumer to get truthful and accurate information. And if businesses were allowed to just go out and lie to people, then that would not be good for the consumer, would not be good for the market, would not be good for the economy, and on and on and on. So that stuff is not allowed. It's not a criminal offence, although in some cases it might be in some places, and certain statements and certain things might be a criminal offence, but certainly you can protect yourself through private law, privately in the courts. So generally these things would only ever be brought up by companies, because if the average individual was able to get the police and was able to take someone to court for lying about them, then the courts would be full all the time, and you know, policemen would be getting phoned up all the time to bring someone into court or whatever because they lied about someone. So it's only ever going to happen in the case of businesses and companies that actually have the money and actually are going to suffer an economic impact, which is an important point here. So it's just defamation. A lot of you don't understand law, a lot of you don't know law, a lot of you would be better off not trying to pretend like you know what the law is or understand how the situation works or anything else. My background, I did a degree in law and I've got a postgraduate qualification in law, but I'm not a lawyer, but I can look at these situations from that perspective. I can take apart situations like that and see the various obligations that people have and the various pressures, the competing pressures and the responsibilities that people have in these situations. And simply put, you just cannot go out in public and publicly lie about people and expect that that person is not allowed to remedy that situation by by getting a court order to prevent you from doing that, especially if you're affecting their business. Now, take away all your emotion from the situation, which is your connection to whether you're a vegan or whether you're anything else, and that's just the facts, the basic, rational, clear facts of the situation. You cannot go out and lie about people's businesses to cause harm to them, you know. Now, I don't know the full dynamics of the defamation laws in Australia, but it'll be very similar to anywhere else. It's the same principle. If you just get back to that principle of people are allowed to be, businesses and things should be allowed to be protected from being lied about by people who are trying to cause damage to them. So that's in place. It's to the benefit of our society generally. It's to the benefit of the market, the economy. It's to the benefit of the consumer. It's to the benefit of people who might be out there looking to buy a diet book, for example, or a diet program. They should be able to get the honest and real information on that without it being lied about in some way. Now, I don't fully know if the people involved were lying, if Duran Ryder and Freely were lying about the program, but I'm guessing that that's what the charge was, that they had talked about it being a starvation program, when it possibly wasn't a starvation program, or there was nothing in the book indicating it was, and perhaps information in the book was completely in line with common dietary advice given out by medical authorities and stuff like that. And if that's the case, then she had the ability, Kayla Itziens had the ability to then come after them, basically, and say you've been lying. And I don't know the thing about steroids. I don't know if that was a big deal. And Jeff Nelson made a video where he was sort of like, oh well, Harley just kind of hints at him taking steroids, and it's like everyone that follows Harley knows what he was talking about. So anyway, that's how really I saw the situation. She's perfectly entitled to do that, and the only reason she would do that, like she's not going to come after someone with no exposure, with no platform, obviously, because there's no damage done, really, or there's very little damage done, and the damage done would be not worth it. But if someone with huge amounts of followers and huge amounts of fan base and platform and everything comes out and starts telling lies possibly about what you're doing, then you just have that right to try and remedy that through the law, through trying to get a legal injunction to stop them from doing that. That's all that's happened in this case. And it's not, freedom of speech really isn't what people think it is. The freedom of speech is very tethered with your responsibility as an individual. You have a responsibility, you have a duty of care. This is almost all the law in these situations goes back to your duty of care towards other people. And and you have a duty to act reasonably and responsibly and all these things within these situations. And you cannot use your freedom of speech. This is what I'm talking about. There's a competing pressure here where people should be free to express themselves and talk and speak, but at the same time, that does not allow them the freedom to then harm other people through that speech and harm them in an unjustified way. It would be perfectly acceptable for you to critique the diet program with your honest critiques about it, and you could possibly bring up the fact that it's high in saturated fat, and you could show the links that has to various disease factors and all sorts of things like that. But if you're going outside of the bounds of doing that and starting to call it a starvation program and things like that, it's you just sort of put a target on yourself. You put a target on yourself when you start to do that. So, what will be the result of this? I just thought I would put those thoughts together for a lot of you, and I know that a lot of you don't watch my channel or whatever, but I just thought I would put that together because everyone just gets caught up sometimes, and they hear something that a leader or a person says, and they just assume that that's what happened. They just assume that's what's in the book. They assume that's what Kayla Itziens says because really, and they don't know how to say that she says it, or whatever. And I don't know if it's my nature, but I just never. I always step back from situations and kind of look at it and go, really, is that true? Is that really the truth here? At least I try to. And a lot of people in this movement and on YouTube and everything, it's like a pantomime. It's become like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, and no shades of grey. You know, it's like Doug Graham's a pantomime villain. You know, he's a villain. He's portrayed as a villain, and everyone just like accepts it, like, oh yeah. And someone else is a good person, and someone else is a good person one day, then they're a villain the next, and and then whatever. It's like it's a total soap opera, like it's a drama. But this is real life, you know, and you have to accept that life has a lot of subtlety to it, and people are not just one thing. People are multifaceted human beings. This isn't television, you know, this isn't characters. This isn't like the good guys, the bad guys. This is people with, as I'm saying, with with very complex lives and psychologies and dramas and whatever else going on. And everyone makes mistakes, and everyone does things that are wrong, and sometimes people do things for the wrong reason, and all of that happens, you know. This is the thing, and the law is there to try, and the law becomes more and more complex as more and more situations arise. But this wasn't one of those situations. This was a very simple case of, she believes they've lied about her in public to a lot of people, and it's damaged her reputation, damaged her business, and she's entitled to protect herself, which she's done. And the final point in this message, this video, is you cannot beat the system. You have to take advantage of the system. You cannot try and beat what's been laid down over hundreds of years in order to make society and build society in the best way possible and allow for a peaceful society to flourish. You cannot beat that. You cannot destroy that because of your own ego, because you think it's not right. You know, we have to accept that we're part of this, and we have to use that to our advantage, and use the systems that are in place to our advantage to share this message and to share this lifestyle. And that may be, you know, getting yourself in the papers or on the mass media or whatever in a positive and good way, and getting the message out in by creating events and writing material and getting articles out there, but not doing this thing of being hippies and like, we're going to change the system when we're going to not. This system is the most system that we have is the most successful way we've come up with so far of organising things, of getting people together. And the example of the defamation thing is is colliding with that system that is there to protect people. That is there to protect people, to protect businesses, and it is not going to be torn down because of veganism or torn down because of someone's ego or someone's thought that they are spreading the truth or whatever. You cannot break that. You've got to work with it. Just like we work with gravity. Gravity's here. We're not going to fly away anytime soon. We've got to work with it. You know, we've got to work with the fact that we live in this reality or this kind of earth. So we work with it, not trying to push constantly against it. If you continue to push against it, you're not going to get anywhere. Try and go with the tide. Find ways of working with the system to create change, and use the system to protect yourself, so that when someone comes after you, you are protected, your business is protected, you spreading the lifestyle are protected. And that's my rant for today. I hope you got something out of that, and you know, that's all. Glad to see that it's settled without anyone put in prison or anything else. That's obviously good. But there you go, that's my thoughts for the day.